Welcome, students. Today, we're going to explore one of the most important life processes on Earth, and that is how plants create their own food. It's a fascinating process, and it's the foundation for almost all life. So, let's find out exactly how it works. So, what's on our agenda for today? Well, we will start with a quick revision of what photosynthesis is. Then we will look at the main events, how the food is actually made. We'll also see how plants control this process through tiny little gates on their leaves, look at the simple experiments that prove this, and finally, we will go over the key takeaways for your exams. All right, let's get started. Now, before we get into the new details, it's always a good idea to refresh what we already know. So let's begin with a quick revision of the basics of photosynthesis, which you have studied in your earlier classes. Now, here is the basic definition, but what is the most important idea to remember from this? It is that photosynthesis is all about converting energy. Plants are amazing chemists. They take light energy from the sun and they convert it into chemical energy, which they store in the food they make. So what are the ingredients that a plant needs for this recipe? There are 4 essential things, or raw materials. First, sunlight, which is the source of energy. Second, water, which the roots absorb from the soil. Third is carbon dioxide, which the leaves take from the air. And finally, the most important ingredient, chlorophyll. That's the green pigment inside the leaves that makes this whole process possible. Okay, so now we come to the main part of our lesson today. We know the ingredients, but how does the plant actually, cook its food? To understand that, we need to go inside the plant's kitchen, which is the leaf, and see the main events that take place. It is very important to understand that photosynthesis is not just a single action. No, it is a series of steps, a sequence of events that happen in a very specific order, one after the other. Okay, let's look at these steps one by one, very slowly. First, in step 1, the chlorophyll inside the leaf acts like a tiny solar panel, absorbing energy from sunlight. Then, in step 2, this light energy is used to do something quite amazing. It is used to split water molecules apart. This is the step that releases oxygen, the very oxygen that we all breathe. And finally, in step 3, the plant uses all this captured energy to convert carbon dioxide into its food, which is glucose, a carbohydrate. Now, for this entire process to happen, the plant needs a constant supply of carbon dioxide from the air. But a plant cannot just leave itself open to the air all the time. That would be dangerous. It needs to control this process very carefully. So the question is, how does it do that? Well, the answer is through these tiny pores on the surface of the leaves called stomata. You can think of these stomata as little windows on the leaf. And each window has 2 special cells called guard cells that can open or close the pore, controlling which gases go in and out. Now, what's really interesting here is the difficult choice the plant has to make. You see, when the stomata are open, carbon dioxide can enter, which is good for photosynthesis. But at the same time, the plant loses a lot of water. Now, if the stomata are closed, the water is saved, but then no carbon dioxide can come in. So the plant is always doing a very careful balancing act, balancing its need for food against its need to save water. All of this is quite amazing, isn't it? But you might be wondering, how did scientists figure all of this out? Well, they performed some simple but very clever experiments to prove which raw materials are absolutely necessary for photosynthesis. Let's look at what these experiments showed us. The first experiment proves the role of chlorophyll. If you take a leaf that is partly green and partly white, and you test it for starch, you will find that starch is only present in the green parts. This is a very clear proof that without chlorophyll, a plant simply cannot make its food. The second experiment shows us just how important sunlight is. If you cover a small part of a leaf with some black paper so that no sunlight can reach it, and then later you test the entire leaf for starch, you will find that the covered part has no starch at all. This proves that sunlight is the energy source that drives this whole process. And the third experiment confirms that carbon dioxide is essential. For this experiment, a plant is kept in a closed jar with a chemical that absorbs all the carbon dioxide from the air. After some time, when the leaves are tested, they show no starch. This clearly proves that carbon dioxide is the raw material from which the plant builds its food. So, we have covered quite a lot of detail today. We have looked at the main events of photosynthesis, how it is controlled, and the proof for it. Now, let's just bring it all together and summarize the most important points that you must remember. Please pay close attention to this, as these points are very important for your exams. First, remember that photosynthesis is an energy conversion process. Second, it happens in 3 distinct steps. Third, it produces food for the plant and oxygen for us. Fourth, it is carefully controlled by stomata. And finally, that sunlight, chlorophyll, and carbon dioxide are all absolutely essential. And that brings us to a final thought to leave you with. We have studied a process that happens at a microscopic level, inside a tiny leaf. And yet, this one single process is responsible for the food and the oxygen that supports almost every living thing on our planet. As you revise this chapter, think about that incredible importance.